Hey, welcome back to the podcast, Evil Dungeon Master Universe. It is Thursday, and it's almost time for the weekend. Long weekend here coming up in the States, Labor Day. Hopefully you have it off. If you don't, then I'm sorry, but if you do, hopefully you're having a game this weekend, or at least spending time with your family, or at least, the very least, relaxing, because we all need to relax once in a while. And what's a better way to relax than listening to this podcast? Head over to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you found this and hit follow. If you're listening to this on YouTube, like button, subscribe to the channel, become a channel member on Spotify and or YouTube. Or you can head over to ko-fi.com/evildm and you can support me there for as little as $1 a month and help support the channel out. Anything you could do, we'd appreciate it. With that said, what's a better way to spend this weekend other than gaming and spending time with your family? And not working is not a good way to spend it, but reading. Reading is a good way to spend your time. Spending your time reading, what are we going to talk about? Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. Why not open up the Unearthed Arcana book and look at the Barbarian class? Because that's what we're going to talk about today. Suggested by my YouTube channel member, RPG Rivers channel, I believe is his name. Just going to double check that just to make sure. Here is his name. Rivers RPG channel. I apologize. I said it backwards. I sometimes have a little bit of dyslexia, so when it comes to words, so I apologize for that. Thank you for the suggestion of talking about the Barbarian class. TheEvilDM.com is my website where you can check out what I'm doing. So the Barbarian class is a class that came out with Unearthed Arcana. With a lot of stuff with Unearthed Arcana, it was overpowered. I feel a lot of stuff in Unearthed Arcana outshines things in the regular core book. Unearthed Arcana, to me, is Gygax's house rules for AD&D and things that he wanted to just get off his chest. Things that didn't make the cut because they were a little too powerful. So this is the optional rules book, in my opinion. It's a great book, don't get me wrong. I like some of the things in it, and I don't like other things in it. I love the Cavalier class. I loved playing the Cavalier. Barbarians are Gygax's, I want to say, love letter to Conan the Barbarian, because he really wanted to make a Conan the Barbarian class, and obviously you couldn't have Conan because of the copyrights. They did do that module for Conan and Red Sonja, so they did have that, but this is pretty much his little love letter to Conan, I think, at least. And this is absolutely a superpower class. When it first came out in Dragon Magazine, The Mighty Barbarian, I think it was 82, people played a hell of a lot of this class because they loved it, obviously because of Conan. But it was still a little OP. And then when this came out in Unearthed Arcana in 85, we saw another resurgence of these classes being played again. The Barbarian. So I don't think I've seen too many Barbarians at the gaming table. I have to think about that one. I remember one specifically when I was doing Roll for Initiative. I think I had one of my players play a Barbarian, and they really played it up pretty well. I've seen another one when we were playing as kids, and the kid took it too far as hating magical items. And, Barbarians hate magical items at low levels, and they refuse to use them, as we'll get into. So we'll get into that in just a second. Flipping to page 18 of the book, Unearthed Arcana, the Barbarian class is a subclass of fighter, so now we have a subclass, even though it probably is overshining the fighter to begin with. Barbarian characters are adept at many skills necessary for survival in hostile wilderness. These skills include rapid movement, which you'll see in a minute they move a little bit faster than a normal person. Climbing, use of many weapons, certain sixth senses in quotes, and many secondary and tertiary abilities. They have a hell of a lot of abilities. Barbarians are tough and hardy and recover quickly from damage. A barbarian must have a strength and constitution score of no less than 15 each, a dexterity score of 14 or better, and a wisdom score of no greater than 16. So you have all these prerequisites just to become a barbarian, but they have no principal attribute that gives them a bonus to experience points. I don't think they really need it, to be honest. But, well, we'll talk about that again in a second. Player Barbarian cannot be with 2 classes, so there is no multi-classing with this. I don't think there's dual classing with the way it's worded, but I guess you could depending on who your DM is. Barbarians gain bonus to the armor class of 2 steps for every point of dexterity over 14, but only if the armor is worn is not fairly bulky or bulky type. So light, very, very light armor, they're allowed to have standing there with a maximum dexterity of 18. They'd have an armor class just in their, their underwear of what? Armor class 2 for every point over. If fairly bulky or bulky armor is worn, the bonus is only +1. So instead of 2 points going down, it's only 1 point over 14. So you can sacrifice your bonus for wearing bulky armor to just get a +1 bonus instead of a +2. This replaces the defense adjustment for dexterity given to other classes. So they don't use a dexterity of 18 because they have their own point over chart to look at, pretty much. Okay, the reaction adjustment remains the same for Barbarian's dexterity. In addition, Barbarians gain +2 hit points per point of Constitution over 14, as opposed to the normal Constitution bonus for other classes. So at first level, if you had a maximum in everything, you'd start with about 20 hit points, which is not to say that's the maximum that a class can have, because if you think about it, I think a ranger is slightly overthinking 24 points. So they're not the maximum, but still 20 hit points is nothing to laugh at. Barbarians can be anything but lawful alignment. They also must be human. They do not use alignment languages of any sort. I never understood alignment languages, to be honest, and I'm glad that they were trying to get away from that stuff. However, initially the barbarian knows how to speak his tribal tongue and common tongue. Barbarians must learn how to read and write. Yeah, when it came to Unearthed Arcana and the Orange Spine books, they started introducing a lot of the non-weapon proficiencies like reading, writing, fishing, cooking, things like that. So for a barbarian to read and write, he'd have to actually take those as non-weapon proficiency skills, which you don't get too many of them in the beginning. So in the beginning, you don't read. Barbarian is a natural, living in the woods, living off the land, huntsman, fighter. He's not going to learn, I'm going to read my book while I'm at the fire. No, the barbarian's not going to do that. They can learn any language according to their intelligence, just any other character can, which is possible because if you have a decent enough intelligence, you are out there in the wild, you're fighting things, and you could pick up a language of a certain monster or a certain tribe or something, because that's what they would do as a barbarian. Now, remember when I said that they had 20 hit points about at first level? Well, the reason for that is they have a 12-sided die as their hit dice. And remember how I said that they were faster than a normal person? Well, they move 15 inches as opposed to the average 12 inches of the classes. So they not only move faster, they also use the combat table like normal fighters, and may use any weapon of sword, shield, or armor, but obviously the restrictions apply for the type of armor it is, if it's bulky or not. When they initially start, the weapons that they should be using is a hand axe, knife, and spear. Anything else would be based upon the native barbarian's area or chosen by the DM. And a lot of DMs let the players just kind of pick what they want because it's a lot easier that way. I think the couple times that I've done it, I've just let them pick what their weapon ability is going to be, because they're playing the character. I'm not going to bother getting into that. It's fun sometimes, but sometimes you just want to play. So far we're seeing the barbarians pretty powerful, but here comes some of the downsides to it. The experience chart, just to get to second level, you need 6,001 experience. Yeah. By this point, 6,001 experience, most classes will be second, third, maybe fourth level comparative. So this is another reason why a lot of people got frustrated with barbarians and stopped playing them, because the progression is very slow. And I understand because of the stuff that this has. the abilities that the barbarian has, and you got to balance it out somehow. And experience is a good way to balance it out. Here's some more downsides. Barbarians in general detest magic and those who use it. They will, at low levels of experience, refuse to employ any sort of magical item if they recognize it as such. They will often seek to destroy magical items and if successful receive experience points awarded as if they possessed the destroyed item. While magic users will be shunned initially and always viewed as with suspicion, clerical spells of the type used by shamans and witch doctors are not viewed so. Though high-level cleric spells are very sus to them. So this is where I had the problem with when we played with the barbarian back when I was a kid, and I mentioned how one guy went a little too far. He took this one paragraph way too far, to the point that we had a magic user in the group, and he would often try to mess with the magic user when he was casting a spell. He would, you're casting a spell, and he would try to, punch him, or he would try to knock him off a cliff, weird things like that. Now I get it, you don't like magic. It says you don't like magic, and it says you want to destroy magical items and you detest magic. It doesn't mean you're going to stop your party member from destroying a monster with it. I think you would probably allow it and then yell at them afterwards. I don't know. It depends on how you see the character class. This person took as far as every destroyed things. I gave magical items out to the party once he figured out they were magical items, because obviously he can't tell until it's identified or he sees what it does. He went out of his way to make sure those magical items were taken from the players that had them and destroyed it and or hid it somewhere so they couldn't use it. So that's a way that they could, do it. A barbarian's natural attack abilities allow him or her to strike creatures that would normally be immune to non-magical attacks as the barbarian rises in level. At 4th level, the barbarian can affect creatures which require a +1 or better to hit, while 6th level barbarians can strike creatures which require a +2 weapon to hit. Similarly, at 8th level, they have +3, and then blah, 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 and it does that, and then it goes up to +4 at 10th level. At 12th level, a barbarian can affect creatures harmed normally only by weapons of +5 or better. The barbarian, despite this ability to hit such creatures, does not gain a bonus to hit or inflict additional damage because of the ability. So it's only the ability to hit them. So if I have a creature that needs to be hit with a +2 weapon, the barbarian would naturally be able to hit it. It doesn't mean he gains that +2. He's just able to affect them and doesn't need a special weapon in his hand to do so. So another big reason that they're kind of overpowered. I like the class, but it's very overpowered. They also gain some bonuses to saving throws. +4 versus poison. +3 versus paralyzation, death magic, petrification, and polymorph. +2 versus rod, staff, and wand, and breath weapon. Barbarians gain no benefit to their saving throw versus spells at start, but gain a +1 to such saving throws for every 4 levels attained. Now, you would think, since they have such an aversion to magic and hate it so much, that they would maybe get a negative or not get a bonus, but they did get a bonus to magic level stuff or saving throws for magic. So the barbarian continues, because this is not just a 1-page or 2-page class. The barbarian character has the following primary abilities: climb cliffs and trees, hide in natural surroundings, surprise. Yeah, they have a 3 in 6 chance, or a 4 in 6 if in familiar terrain, to surprise people. Back protection. Any attempt to attack a barbarian from behind, include assassins or thieves, have a 5% chance per level being detected or countered. So they have back protection. Leaping and swinging. Springing. Barbarians are able to leap 10 feet forward, 3 feet backwards, 3 feet upward from standing start. They have the ability to detect illusion, 5% level. They have the ability to detect magic. So not only you're going to have a tough time with your magical items, they're going to be able to be like, that's a magical item because I rolled up to 25 to start. Let's see here. They have leadership. When dealing with other barbarians, a barbarian adds his or her level of experience to his or her charisma score to get an effective charisma effect on other barbarians. Comeliness doesn't apply. I hated the comeliness stat, but we'll get into that in a different episode because this one's already 15 minutes long. In addition to the primary skills, every barbarian possesses all the following secondary abilities. And the list continues. These secondary abilities are generally not usable, certainly not to the fullest potential, in areas which are unfamiliar to the barbarian, although the skills can be applied to new locale with differing flora, fauna, and climate after about 1 month of continued exposure to the new area. Survival, of course, obviously, barbarian has the ability to survive in the area by hunting and fishing, and first aid, you're able to bind wounds, set sprains, and concoct natural antidotes and natural cures for disease. Obviously, the first part it'd be easy to do in the beginning. The latter more so that when he runs around looking for stuff and knowing where stuff grows. Outdoor craft is tracking. I mean, after a while of doing it, he has the ability to track the same level as a ranger. Finally, the barbarian will have the barbarian will have one or more of the following tertiary skills, depending on the locale or culture from which he or she originates. Which skills are applicable are determined by the DM according to the nature of the campaign. So the DM can determine if some of these apply or they don't. Animal handling, horsemanship, long distance signaling, running, small craft paddling, small craft road, sound imitation, native territory, and that's about it. They have talked about the abilities of the different tribes of the barbarian, so that's something to look into. Now, it's not to say that some of these things, change as he goes up in level, but once he hits level 2, and there's a little chart here, he may associate freely with clerics. So in the beginning at level 1, even clerics are a little suspicious to you. Level 3, you may use magic potions. It just says magic potions. It doesn't say what magic potions, so any magic potion is fine, even if it's just magic. 4th level, they can start to use magic weapons. May strike creature hit only by a +1 weapon gains +1 on saving throw versus spells. So he gains the ability to hit with naturally, but he can use magic weapons at level 4. Level 5, he gets to use magic armor. Level 6, he may associate with magic users if necessary with an exclamation point. So up until 6th level, they hate magic users. They don't want to deal with magic users. They despise magic users, and they don't want to associate with them. So if you have a barbarian in your party and a magic user, you're going to have an antagonistic relationship going on with the two of them. Well, from the barbarian's end mostly, wanting to harm the magic user, possibly make their life miserable. Upon reaching 8th level, a barbarian may summon a horde of barbarians. This horde can only be summoned in the native territory of the barbarian from among the barbarians of his background. Caveman, it just goes over to different types of and now they're giving a note. I didn't realize this at the first, and I forget about this monster manual because men are considered the tribesmen, nomads, dervishes, caveman, stuff like that. A barbarian horde can number as many as leaders' experience points total divided by 1,000. Thus, a barbarian who has reached 8th level, page flip, can summon a 275-member horde. And one who has only just reached 9th level can summon a 500-member horde. So that's pretty impressive. The horde does take a week to gather up in the barbarian's home territory and must have a stated purpose, such as tear apart the College of the Magics and the Arcana City brick by brick, or rescue Princess Madeline from the Storm Pirates, or serve under Goodbar the Cleric in his battle against the infidels. So there has to be a purpose, and it has to be in the land where the barbarian is from. Members of the disbanded hordes will return by the quickest and safest route back to the homelands. So they will gather up in his land. It takes about a week, and we'll meet him wherever he wants, I guess. The barbarian horde can be kept together for as many weeks as the barbarian leader has levels of experience. So if he's 8th level, whatever, maybe 8 weeks. They obviously want to have a split of treasure or any type of magic, not magic, just treasure. They're going to want a piece of it. The spoils of war. Pretty interesting class, isn't it? In addition to the normal barbarian horde, the leader of the horde will gain 2 aids, each level equal to 1/2 of the leader's a level rounded down. Each aid will have 2 assistants of 1/2 the aid's level. So thus, an 8th level barbarian would therefore have a horde of 275 men plus 2 4th level aids and 2 2nd level assistants to those aids. The horde may include shamans, witch doctors, or clerics, depending on the nature of the barbarian. Barbarians, shamans, and witch doctors gain wisdom bonuses and may use magic items of any sort applicable. Normal clerics will have full spellcasting abilities, but in all cases, barbarian ability score statistics apply. Barbarian clerics will always be non-player characters. So that is the barbarian class. To me, it is a very OP class considering, but it has its downsides, which kind of counterbalance the class's OP-ness, to speak here. Not seen quite a few barbarians in my years. I've only seen a couple handful of them here and there. And like I explained to you, the one kid that played it, and I'm saying kid because I was a kid back then. We were all little kids playing this game, and that's what he did. And the other time I played it, Roll for Initiative, when we had a barbarian in the class, he kind of played up the whole magic user thing with a magic user in the party, and they played it off as kind of an antagonistic relationship as far as goofing on one another. So the player interpreted it as more of he just wants to jab at them, make them fun of them, things like that, because of the hate of them, instead of outright just trying to kill them and stuff like that. So that's Barbarian Class. Tell me what you think. Today's been a longer episode than normal, almost about 25 minutes. So don't forget to like the video, comment, subscribe, and don't forget to check out Spotify for polls of past podcasts or current. Comment there as well. With that said, I'm going to head out. Keep original, keep it old school. Good night. God bless.